Hi, I'm OK, and you're in the stream. The Democratic National Convention is wrapping up in Philadelphia. It has been a lively week inside the convention hall. Hillary Clinton has made history by clinching her party's nomination. She has been endorsed by her peers, her colleagues, and US President Barack Obama.
There has never been a man or a woman, not me, not Bill, nobody, more qualified than Hillary Clinton to serve as President of the United States of America.
And I'm Malika Bilal. It hasn't been all cheers, though. Outside the convention center, things have looked a little different this week. Thousands have been protesting Clinton's nomination, and smaller groups have faced off with police in more unruly encounters. Many are motivated by what they say is evidence of a rigged political system, one that doesn't hear the voices of Bernie Sanders supporters.
Today, we're going to take a closer look at the friction within the Democratic Party.
And whether Democrats believe Hillary Clinton is the right person with the right policies for the job of President of the United States. To discuss that, Malcolm Kenyatta is a delegate for Hillary Clinton from the U.S. state of Pennsylvania. He's also the Member Engagement Coordinator at the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. Next to him, Kimmy Cole is a delegate for Hillary Clinton from the state of Nevada and an LGBTQ activist.
Gabriel Silva is a delegate at large for Bernie Sanders from Texas. He's also a student at the University of Houston. And Angie Aker is a writer and Bernie Sanders delegate from the state of Wisconsin. So welcome, Democrats. Let me just start here. You're so welcome. Look at my laptop. This is a little tweet here from Angie's Twitter feed. Never lose your sense of outrage at Bernie Sanders. You said it, we believe it. Silenced. I'm with Angie, DNC in PHL, Philadelphia. And then you have tape over your mouth saying silence. Angie, what's your mood right now? Are you outraged?
Well, here's the thing, I'm moving into the action phase. You can only sustain, internally I'm outraged, outwardly you can only sustain the energy of outrage so long. You've got to put it into work. And, so that's the mode that I'm in at this point.
Malcolm, what would you say to Angie? She was she still is a Bernie Sanders supporter. What do you say to her?
Well, it's not what I would say to her. It's what Bernie Sanders would say to her. Bernie Sanders would say that he is not with that. We need to rally behind Secretary Clinton and make sure that we move forward with this progressive platform that we put out, and that we actually do things that affect each other's life. And I know we'll get into it a little bit more, but when I hear Bernie or bust, or hear I'm going to vote for Jill Stein or some of these other candidates, we need to really dig into what that means. It means that we're going to bust up immigrant families that are trying to build a life for themselves. We're going to bust up people that are trying to get raising wages. We're going to bust up people that are working hard every single day. And we're going to bust up all the progress that we made. So elections are tough. You win, you lose, but the fact is we have to come together as a party. And really, I think that we are. You're going to have some people who won't,
look, but
I think that's going to be a small part.
Donald Trump is very scary. You're absolutely right about those things. Those are all very terrible things that will happen. But I think, we're really looking very short term here instead of looking at what's on the horizon 20 years down the line. We're all assuming that we can afford 8 more years of the status quo when it's apparent that we need to turn the ship around immediately, because we've got about 20 good years before things really go haywire because of climate change, because of the global unrest that will come from that. We're looking at something far scarier than Trump if we keep going the way that we're going. And so for me, I want to dismantle this broken establishment and prove that hypercapitalism isn't a sustainable system that we can live under. And I don't think anybody's going to prove that faster than Donald Trump. I think 8 more years of Hillary is certain death for all of us.
Angie, I think there are people online. I'm going to jump in, Malcolm, just because I think there are people online that agree with Angie. But you mentioned, Malcolm, that we need to now come together as a party. We're talking about unity here. What we are hearing from people online, though, is that there isn't any unity to begin with, and some of it has to do with something we saw a little bit earlier this week, the leak of DNC, Democratic National Committee emails that caused a lot of strife within the party. And what came out of it were some things that were not so nice about how party leaders were addressing Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders supporters, the DNC issued an apology, but here's what our community had to say about that. This is Mark. He tweets in, what that apology really said was, we're sorry we were working against you from the beginning. We promise we won't do it again in the future. He goes on to say, and of course this is tongue-in-cheek, here's a lollipop and a Hillary 2016 sticker. Be sure to publicly promote her to ensure party unity. Smiley face. Clearly he's saying that's not enough. Malcolm, I've heard your take on this. Kimmy, what do you make of this?
There was a lot of momentum coming into 2016, and it started out from the problems that we came into in 2008. Now, I think it's absolutely insane to think somebody's just going to come in, we're going to turn around, we're going to make it all magic. I think there's been a lot of progress made, especially in the course of human rights. And I have been working on the ground, as have so many people I know been working on the ground, attempting to continue what we are starting that is moving in the right direction. And I don't see any way, shape, or form. We've had a very, very competitive contest. And I have encouraged everybody from both sides to give it their all to support their candidate. But again, I get back to, I wanted to get a Democrat in the White House. And again, looking at these email chains, I always have to ask, was this something that was intentional before anything happened, or was it just comments after something happened? And I have been personally aware of situations where things didn't go so well. We were treated, there were certain people that didn't treat other people correctly, and we intervened in a point to say, let's calm down, let's move this forward. And I look at that now. We've had a tough contest. We have a nominee for the President of the United States, and we get there, and we have to keep an eye on the bigger picture here. Who are we fighting, and are we going to fight each other when we are so close to agreement on so many of the platforms?
We should stand up to our friends. It's really easy to go up against Republicans every single time and say, oh, Republicans are so terrible. And yes, they have terrible policies, but you know what? They're plain honest dealers about it. What we have is a Democratic Party that is pretending to be one thing to our face, and then underneath it operating in a way that's completely unethical and doesn't move us towards our goals as progressives. If you look at the last 40 years of the progressive failures of not moving our agenda forward, our biggest enemy hasn't been Republicans in that. They've just been doing their jobs as Republicans. Our biggest enemy has been internally in the progressive and the Democratic Party that's supposed
Angie,
to
let me just bring in Gabriel. Gabriel, I want to show our audience something first of all. This is from Liberal LA Chick, and this is what she says in her tweet. DNC goons ripping signs out of Bernie supporters' hands and then trying to look innocent. You don't have to read it, you can see it. Have a listen and have a look. So, Gabriel, as a Bernie supporter, how do you feel that you're being treated right now by the DNC, by other Democrats?
Yeah, so basically, what you're seeing there is a physical representation of how the party is treating all of us Bernie supporters. They're ripping the signs, ripping our voice out of our mouths, and then pretending as if nothing is going wrong, and then asking us to turn around and simply shut up, sit down, and support them anyway. And what the DNC leaks is showing us is it's proving to everybody that the sky is indeed blue. So what I mean by that is that what everybody knew was going on, what was blatant and was in everyone's face the entire time, we now have proof of. And that is that the Democratic Party never wanted any of our support. They never needed our support. They've shown contempt for the progressive left of the Democratic Party. And the fact of the matter is that I completely agree with Angie. The neoliberalist policies of the Democratic Party are no worse than the neoconservatism of the Republican Party. And it is this neoliberalism that has led us to implement trade deals that are simply putting us on a race to the bottom.
Gabriel, how would you want to be treated? You sound genuinely upset right now.
Right, absolutely. So that video was only one example of some of the stuff that's going on in the DNC at the moment. The Jacob Limon, our Texas State Director from the Bernie campaign, had his floor pass stripped off of him we were given absolutely no reason why.
So how would you want to be treated? What should the DNC have done? What should other Democrats have done to make you feel better, to make you feel more like you're one party?
Well, first of all, what I would have liked to see was a fair election. we saw massive amounts of not only voter disenfranchisement, but election fraud across this entire election season. At least 8 states throughout the country showed massive discrepancies from the results when compared to the exit polling results, which according to the Justice Department is indication of election fraud. There was massive amounts of poll cuts in Arizona, in New York, in Puerto Rico. In New York, people had to register to be as a Democrat about 7 months, something like that, before the actual election was taking place.
And even before the debates even started.
But
the debates hadn't even started yet. And so how are people supposed to register?
These rules were the rules of the Democratic Party well before Bernie Sanders. What we saw in the email is that people that are political are political. They had an opinion about him, and should they have expressed in that way? No. Should DWS have stepped down? Absolutely. She stepped down. It's time to move on. And let's talk about Puerto Rico for 1 second. In Puerto Rico, part of the reason why the polls were limited is because Senator Sanders did not have enough staff to adequately support all the different polls. So it was actually his campaign that asked for that. And I think no, excuse me. I think that as we move forward, what's not helpful is trying to relitigate the primary season. And I think that Simone Sanders, Greg, excuse me 1 second. Greg, excuse me just 1 second. So Simone Sanders, who was the press secretary for Senator Sanders' campaign, came out with a couple of tweets, I think just 2 days ago, and that really pushed back against this. She said that the election was not stolen and that we need to stop saying that. She worked really hard. Senator Sanders worked really hard. And the fact is, Greg, you've worked really hard, and that's what democracy is about. But what happens is, as Obama said last night, we have to really want it. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep going. If Senator Sanders, who, as he said in his speech, is probably the most upset, can recognize that our country is so much bigger than this one election, so much bigger than some hurt feelings.
Okay, so Malcolm, I'm going to jump in there just a bit because, Malcolm, I think you meant Gabriel when you said Greg. And then you mentioned...
Greg. I meant Gabriel.
That's okay. We knew what you meant. And then also you mentioned DWS, which is Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the outgoing chair of the DNC, who was implicated in these emails and the leaks. So I'm going to read you 2 tweets that kind of bridge the divide that I'm hearing on our show here. This is Laura. Laura says, this primary season, Bernie Sanders revealed millions of Americans want an equitable society with a less corrupt political system. But she goes on to say, given our choices right now, the movement to change the system will only flourish with Hillary Clinton in the White House. She's a little bit reluctant there, though, Angie, because you see the hashtag she's using is, I'm with her, I guess, which is sort of a shrug. But her point you make, do you think that's valid?
No, actually, I think it's really the opposite. I think Hillary Clinton is a practiced, skilled politician. She and Bill Clinton are notorious for the types of tactics that they use in their campaigning, such as showing up at the polls on election day, which is, totally illegal in most states. And, when we look at the DNC ousting Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that is a really empty gesture because she was about to be out of there anyways. And so to act like we should be okay with that and just be able to accept that as an olive branch and move on is ludicrous. Election Justice USA actually just went through and did an audit of all of the states where malfeasance occurred with the voting systems. And they came up with an audit saying that had things gone the way they should have gone, that Bernie Sanders would have gotten about 184 more pledged delegates. If you add that to his total and subtract that from Hillary Clinton's total, it would have erased that 359 pledged delegate lead.
Let me show you a picture here. Let me show you.
Hillary Clinton would have won. That's what I'm hearing. That Hillary Clinton would have had a lead.
No, what I just said is actually it would have erased her lead and pledged delegates.
I haven't
so if you
seen
want to stop and talk about super delegates,
I'm moving on because Angie,
did not decide this election.
Angie and Malcolm, let's just bring us up to date with where we are today or where we were last night. Let me show you this picture here. Can you remember back in 2008? When President Obama said, or before he was President Obama, Senator Obama said, well, I like her well enough. And there was this incredible friction between these two presidential would-be candidates. And now look at them. I mean, there's no air, there's no oxygen between these two right now. And they're all loved up. I'm just thinking, Kimmy, what is it about Hillary Clinton, her weaknesses, that is driving the Democratic Party apart? What do you think it is that is not making everybody come together?
I have a little bit of different feeling about that, and what I've seen with Hillary Clinton, and I'll admit I've been a fan for a long time, but I see a lot of what the problems are her strengths. I think she is incredibly smart, she is incredibly researched, she is incredibly prepared when she goes into the toughest situations in the world, and I do think that scares people, maybe over on the right especially, but they've started this media blitz that anticipates that every time she makes a move, they're going to take it from the wrong angle and they're going to paint a negative spin on it. And I just don't see that. In fact, I've been in too many situations where I see, one angle of the camera and I say I was there on the other angle of the camera and it wasn't the same way. And another point that I'd really like to make right now is the election process. When we go back, and I hear the Constitution pointed out a lot of the time, we're supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And what I have seen this election cycle, this election system, is not something that we can show up for one election every 4 years, give it what we feel like doing, and say we did our part. It is not about that. It is working at our local levels, at our state levels, at our national levels. It is a matter of taking a look at the bigger picture and working with all of that in mind. We need to get our machine going. And the Clinton campaign has been totally open to embracing the down ticket, which we really need in our area. I live in a very rural area. We want the support from the top to the bottom and from side to side. And this is not something that we can just show up every 4 years and give it all the gusto and say we did our part. We got to work. We got to be working all the time.
It's not as if we just don't like her because of her personality. This is because, I love that she's a woman. That has nothing to do with why I'm not behind her. This isn't a personal vendetta against Hillary Clinton herself. It's about knowing what her record is, and it's about knowing what we need in order to move forward in the future. She is definitely not it. And in terms of, I've been working in local politics. I've been working in municipal types of policy. Like, I've been working on these things for a long time. This, just because it's my first convention doesn't mean I'm new to politics. I think a lot of us are looking at the long game here, but we don't see Hillary Clinton as that net positive that's going to get us where we need to be in the long term.
So there are a couple of viewpoints that I want to share with you all online that kind of merge those two things. Just 1 second. So this is Mitsu Sumashi, who I think would agree with what you just said, Angie. This is what they tweeted us. The choice now, one of the 1%, either money or political oligarchs. And so they linked to a picture. This is a Getty photo from 2005. And of course, you can see both the Trumps and the Clintons in it. It is at the wedding reception of Donald Trump to Melania. And this is, of course, when Donald Trump was a Democrat, so it's a long time ago. So this is one reason people say they can't vote for her. On the other hand, Jennifer says Clinton's leadership inspires. She listens to her team, her constituents. She knows she doesn't have all the answers. And lastly, I'm the child of immigrants. That trumps everything. Gabriel, are you convinced by Jennifer's argument here?
No, absolutely not, because not only am I the child of immigrant, I am an immigrant. I moved from Brazil over to the Rio Grande Valley in the South Texas when I was 5 years old, and nobody wants to see Trump far away from the White House as I do. The problem is, what the American people is telling us in every single one of the polls, in terms of favorability, in terms of trustworthiness, in terms of likability, is that the American people, the will of the people, is they want both of those candidates as far away from the White House as possible. And to respond to some of the points that were brought up before, the Democratic Party has been trying extremely hard. They haven't been doing anything for us to try to unify us. Look at who they picked for vice president. They picked somebody who just a few days before being nominated praised the TPP, which is something that was central to Bernie Sanders' platform.
Who would you have wanted, Gabriel, as a VP?
Personally, it doesn't even matter to me because
it does matter because you just said it mattered. You just said it mattered. It does matter.
Here's what would have made a big difference. I think if she would have picked somebody.
That's the issue. That's what you see when you talk to.
Okay, guess what? At a time. Gabriel, finish your sentence.
I've been very respectful. I've been letting other people talk. I would like to have more than a few sentences. So it's not the vice presidency that's the issue. It's the effort that the party is making towards us. And that is that as far as they're concerned, giving us a few words on a piece of paper and kicking Debbie Wasserman Schultz out.
Right, that's not enough.
She doesn't have anything to do.
Right.
It's all just lip service. None of it actually matters anything to us Bernie supporters. It's too little and it's too late.
How about this from Bernie Sanders? Now more than ever is the time for millions of families to come together and revitalize American democracy. Angie, are you swayed by that?
I mean, I love and respect Bernie. I will always be grateful to him for what he did to coalesce this movement and really wake up Americans and give them hope again that this was even within reach, that we could rewrite the future and even have this, chance at survival within our grasp. I'll always be grateful for that. But, being a Bernie Sanders supporter doesn't equate to being a Bernie Sanders follower. It doesn't mean I'm going to go wherever he goes. I've got different ideas about what our next steps are, and I'm not getting behind the establishment.
One of the things that I'd really like to jump in here, if I could.
Go ahead.
We really need to pay attention to the fact that there has been a major revision of the Democratic Party platform. I know people that have worked long and hard in multiple states, in multiple meetings, and they have added, to my knowledge, virtually every very, very progressive plank that was requested by the Sanders campaign, and they worked long and hard on that. So I say, I look at this whole thing, and it was concession after concession after concession to say we really, really do want to work together. To me, that is a solid effort.
No, it's not.
But it's not about giving you anything. It's not about giving you anything, because Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders supporters don't own the progressive movement. I'm a black gay man that has been fighting for progressive causes my entire life, fighting for us to raise the minimum wage, fighting to make sure that trade policies like TPP, which I also disagree with, aren't implemented. So you don't get to own those things. What we've been fighting
to have
over
a
is
Bernie
how to
Sanders
get there.
movement
No, we've been
bubble up
fighting
and
over
to
how to
pretend
get
that
there. And
to
I
pretend
believe
that
as
never
somebody that
happened, and
understands
she
government,
doesn't
that
need
Hillary
to pick a
Clinton
vice
is the
president
way
who's even a
forward
little bit
to
more
get these things
progressive than she is.
implemented.
Angie, hold tight, because I can't
This
hear
is
you.
not about-
Malcolm, finish your sentence.
I believe we have all been fighting for progressive things. What the debate has been about is who is the best candidate to move those policies forward. That's fine. You believed it was Bernie Sanders. I believed it was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton won, and now it's time to fight for those progressive values, not throw the ball on the ground and say, because I didn't get a touchdown this time, we're not going to play anymore. We've made progress. We need to keep fighting for progress. And as a black gay man, Donald Trump is an existential threat
this is
to
like
my
a little
very
microcosm
existence.
of what's happening in the Democratic Party, because people are speaking over each other. Give me a pause for a moment, everybody. Malika, where do you want to go? Where do you want to take us?
Right, exactly. Malcolm, I hear your point that you can't see the other guests, so it does make it a little bit harder. Thanks for bearing with us. I want to bring this up because we've heard from Bernie supporters who then say they're out of options. So Osiris, one of those, he says, we're already gone. We've changed from Democrats to the Green Party, third party candidate, this morning, our entire family. But he gets a little bit of pushback online. This is Zayed, and he says the impact of those voters who are going to vote third party or not vote at all, it's simple. If they don't vote, we could have Trump as president of the United States. Gabriel, is that something that's crossed your mind?
Yeah, absolutely, it's crossed my mind. And to those people who say that voting for anybody but Hillary Clinton is a vote for Donald Trump, I say to them that the minute you cast your ballot for Hillary Clinton was when you voted for Donald Trump, because the writing was on the wall from the beginning. All of the polls, not a single poll ever showed Trump even close to beating Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the most historically disliked candidates in history. They both have about a 60 to 70% distrust rating among the American people. The will of the people says we don't want.
He would have a lower approval rating as well.
Sanders has an 86% approval rating. He has had everything thrown at him.
If Bernie Sanders was being attacked, he would have also had a low approval rating as well. Hillary Clinton did not run one negative ad.
Aligned with dictators from Venezuela. He's had the Red Scare thrown at him.
So guess, I'm in the very end of this. I'm at the very end of the show. So hold tight, everybody. Angie, do you know what you're voting in November?
I'm leaning very strongly towards Jill. I mean, it's not a flippant choice.
Okay, Gabriel, do you know what you're voting in November?
I'm waiting for Hillary to cut all her ties to money and to start running her campaign the way Bernie Sanders did. If she can do that, if she can do a clear action that will prove to us that we maybe can...
So if Hillary transforms into Bernie Sanders, then you'll vote for her.
Right.
I'm voting for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Most Democrats here are going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And this is a small microcosm.
All right,
of
let me
the
show
party.
you something
Most people
here.
are united.
Because Gabe actually said something about the minute you pass your vote for Hillary Clinton, you voted for Trump. Let me show you something here on the stats. Who will win the presidency from the stats site 538? So far, Hillary right now, 55% 33.6% chance of winning. It's a long way to the elections, though. Thank you, Democrats, for being part of this program. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Take care.